In an age where verbosity is often mistaken for wisdom, Mr. Shalin Mehta reminds us that true advocacy lies in clarity and precision. He is one of the youngest senior advocates of the Gujarat High Court. He is the master of constitutional, civil, labour and arbitration matters with remarkable finesse. He hails an LLM from Columbia University. As a fourth generation advocate, he does not merely inherit a legacy, but he builds upon it with distinction. How are you, sir?
Great.
You have had an illustrious career. Is there any one case that changed the way or the trajectory of your career?
If you ask me frankly, it's the number of cases or the multiple cases that you do over a period of years that ultimately make you, isn't it? Because, why do I say that? Because every case for me, especially for me, is a learning experience. Okay, because, and I think it wouldn't be fair for me to say that there's only one case that I did and that, launched my career or, changed my career. I can't really say that. I can only say that several cases, spanning a period of 10 years actually, probably, or even 15 years, they have really shaped my career. But I can fondly talk about one case actually where I was, I really fondly remember that, and that was the Lok Ayukt case. And unique because it was a tug of war between the High Court and the government. Okay, because it was about appointment of a Lok Ayukt, and obviously the government said that, well, it's got to be our nominee, and the High Court said that, well, you don't really have you can't say that it's going to be your nominee only because even we have a say. So it was a literal tug of war between the state and the High Court, and I appeared for the High Court, and I was chosen by the Chief Justice then. So for me, it was a big thing actually because, for example, the Chief Justice called me in his chamber and said that, look, Mr. Mehta, today I'm your client. Now, what is your recommendation? What is your advice? And that was very, very special for me because, we've always seen the Chief Justice and all the judges as judges of the court, right? It's the High Court. But when the Chief Justice calls you and says that, well, today I'm your client, it was a great feeling for me. And I also learned a lot actually because things that go behind the scenes, actually how the power struggle, especially, and, for appointments and all that. I think, I learned a lot of politics and even constitutional law in that.
Now, you pursued LLM from the University of Columbia. Why did you choose to come back and practice in Gujarat?
When I went to the US, I was lucky to get a job actually because jobs for foreign LLMs are rare in the US. But somehow I was able to secure a job actually, and I stayed for a year. And in those days I was not very clear because my wife is an American citizen actually. So I had the option of staying there. But what I found in that 1 year of doing litigation, I was working in a firm called Queen Emanuel Urquhart and Oliver then. Now it's become Sullivan. Queen Emanuel Urquhart and Sullivan, which is, I think it's in the top 3 US law firms, and they have offices like all over the world. But what I found is that in the US, if you are interested in litigation, that comes very, very slow because it's not very easy for people to immediately start arguing in courts because US has a different structure altogether. So I worked for a year, and eventually I found that for me, if I plan to actually argue in courts, it's going to be like, probably 6-7 years. That's what my partners also told me because my partners who were also associates then in their days, they said that they got their chance to argue a matter in court actually probably after 5 years, 6 years, even 10 years. So I realized that it's a very, very long waiting game, and I didn't really want that actually because I was from day one actually I think I wanted to be a litigator. So that didn't work for me in the US, and then ultimately I had taken a huge loan to pay for my fees. So in that 1 year I earned whatever I could, and then I moved back.
What I've heard about you, you have always been a voracious reader. You not only read Indian jurisprudence, you also take an active attempt to follow what are the developing international principles. How did you develop this habit, and how does this habit impact you currently?
When I was in Columbia for my master's LLM actually, so that is the 1 year where I got exposed to American courts and American case law especially. And I think I developed a liking for the way the American scholars, lawyers, and even judges, they argue and they decide and they analyze. And I think I never left that. So even when I came back, and even today, for example, I do a lot of, I read almost every single judgment of the US Supreme Court. That's forgiven actually. And then so in the US they have this system, federal system, where US Supreme Court is the top, and then they have circuit courts. So like there's 9th Circuit for California, Arizona, and all those states. Actually, there's 7th Circuit for Illinois, Idaho. So in those days, actually, I used to enjoy reading judgments of few judges, and then today also, I read 7th Circuit judgments, 9th Circuit, DC Circuit actually. And what I am interested in is that I like the way they analyze, I like the way they reason out, and I like the way they are so matter of factly. Okay, I mean the case, there is, you'll not find legalese. Okay, you'll not find, ostentatious, language and all that actually. It's like, they'll explain to you, I mean, first para that talks about actually what the case is about. They don't have this, this style of, say he submitted this, these submissions made. The issue is discussed actually, and then straight away the reasoning. But the reasoning is the most important part. And I think we have several judgments of the Supreme Court, and time and again Supreme Court keeps on saying that reasons, it's the lifeline of law, right? I think US courts do it the best, and that's what really I like about that actually, and therefore I've never left the habit of abandoning American jurisprudence or whatever. American courts actually. I still read, and I make it a point to read. I even share my judgments actually, where I like actually I share my judgments with people.
I think such an approach should also be followed by the Indian judiciary, because a lot of laymen or people who are not affiliated with law find it really difficult to understand the legal terms.
An American scholar made a very interesting point actually. He said that we should write for the man on the street. Okay, we don't write for lawyers, we don't write for scholars, we don't write for professors. Okay, because at the end of the day, the people who come to the court with these cases are people. They are laymen, right? They are people like you and me. They are not lawyers, they are not scholars. So therefore, you have to write for the man on the street, whether he'll be able to understand or not. I think I would do that. If I were a judge, actually, I would definitely do that.
I strongly abide by that. Now, there's one more problem when it comes to reading. Us as law students, and even this is a plight shared by a lot of junior advocates, when we have to read cases and a lot of commentaries and other reading materials spanning into 300, 400 pages, all of that requires dry but active reading. You cannot have thoughts in your mind and read something. How would you recommend us law students and junior advocates to develop habit of active reading?
If you are going to be in the profession, if you don't like reading at all, then clearly actually the profession is not meant for you. I'll be brutally honest actually. The profession is not meant for you. Okay, you have the share market then. So I would not. But if you want to be in the profession and you decide to be in the profession, I want to. So help us out actually. I tell them that form the habit of reading whatever you like first actually. The idea is to introduce yourself. For example, some people like reading biographies, autobiographies. Because the good thing about them is that for a book, for a fiction, you can't read from chapter 10. Okay, autobiographies, biographies, you can just read one chapter. I can read the last chapter actually. So I tell them actually that read that. People like politics, history, fine. So I think the idea is that you cultivate the habit of reading. Once that happens actually, then you can move on to your focused trajectories. For example, if I have to read for this case, fine. But when you do this for a couple of years or even more than that actually, then you've at least cultivated the habit of actually reading. So that's very important. Okay, for people who don't have an issue with reading, right? For example, okay, fine, I'm a lawyer and I'm given this brief actually, 5,000 pages, whatever it is actually, and how do I can't read everything actually, how do I sort it? So there, what I've learned over the years is that, and this is the mistake which I made even in the past actually, that when I was a student, I used to love reading case law, and case law, especially law. So there were cases when sometimes I would sit in the court and judges would ask me that, Mr. Mehta, do you have the latest case law on this actually, and I would have it because I used to be so up to date. But I used to like reading cases, and I would always read the last part or the reasoning part, right? Actually, I would ignore the facts because facts, fine. What is the law? What is the law? I would be interested in that. Today, for lawyers, for students, I would recommend that's not the correct approach actually. The most important thing for a lawyer, for a litigator, and for our legal system is facts. It is facts. Okay, law comes much later. Law is to be applied to the facts of the case. The problem with a lot of us lawyers, even today's lawyers, I would say, I don't. In fact, students are in a better position because students will now learn not to be like that. What we lawyers do is that we move very easily to judgments, okay, to cases. Okay, what do the Supreme Court say here? What do the High Court say here? Not important actually. The real, I would say the unique lawyering is that where you're able to compare the facts of this case with your case and analogize and able to establish a similarity, and thereafter you apply the principle of law. Because understand one thing, that law never applies in a vacuum. It never applies in a vacuum. It's always the facts of the case. Even Supreme Court says that when you cite a decision, please tell us actually whether the facts of this case match with this case. Okay, otherwise it's meaningless, absolutely meaningless. So my advice to students and interns actually, or even young lawyers actually who are faced with, tomes or voluminous documents, facts. Just be interested in what happened to your client. What is the dispute? Okay, just be interested in that. Properly tabulate facts. And I'm telling you, law becomes very easy actually, because law is the same. Facts will not, I give a fact sheet to 3 students actually, one case actually, I'm sure that all the 3 will come up with different fact sheet, right? Because there is bound to be actually, because someone has read facts more closely, the other has not read that much. Law, everyone will pull out the same Supreme Court judgment which applies. So my advice to young lawyers is that be interested in facts. Trust me, be interested in facts. Facts, facts and facts. And I'm telling you, law is easy, and law you'll easily be able to apply.
So to summarize, 2 things that I learned. Firstly, when it comes to the journey, instead of directly looking at the wall, just focus on one brick at a time and you'll be able to manage out.
Absolutely.
When it comes to reading voluminous judgments or any reading material. Yeah. Secondly, when you're reading a case law, it is not just the law that is important, but it is the facts, and ultimately the law will only apply to the facts of the case.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's all facts.
Now, apart from reading, for law students and junior advocates, what are practical skills that we should equip ourselves with?
When you argue before a court, what I usually do is that you have to do a lot of thinking. Okay, I mean, now with the passage of time, actually, I have to think less actually, but for a student, for a junior lawyer, it's only one case, right? I mean, so when he is going to argue the next day, what I would do is that I would think. Okay, I would think actually that how will I structure my argument, how will I frame my argument, how will I introduce the facts of my case to the court. That's most important. Okay, so that those first 3 lines or 4 lines, there are people, for example, I've seen people actually, I've seen lawyers who will say, okay, let's go to page 36 actually, but what page 36? I mean, when you get up, you've got to tell the court actually that why have you come? That's most important, right? So now when will that come? It's not by reading some line of your brief actually. You have thought about this, that tomorrow when I argue actually, what will I tell the court? So think of it like a movie. You've seen a movie actually, and your friend next day tells you actually that what was the movie about. So how would you tell him in fact? Because you can't tell him 3 or 3 hours, right? Obviously you can't narrate the end. So you'll tell him in 2 minutes actually what the movie was about. That's what you have to be good at. So that's one. Second, yes, because you will read, diction will come. Diction has to be there actually. I would say that I think people can work on that. Language and diction is also very important. Third thing also very important, which I suffer from actually, and I don't have, slow. You've got to be slow. Okay, and I consciously now make an effort actually. But I still sometimes breach that. But yeah, you've got to be slow, because the opposite, you've got to make him understand, make her understand. That's important. Fourth, confidence, very important. You have to have the confidence. Yes, everyone is going to have butterflies in the stomach actually when it starts. I took probably 3 or 4 months to properly argue a case, okay, without getting scared, really scared. I mean, partial scare is always going to be there, right? I mean, it's because you are assessing your performance. That's why that scare is there. But slowly you'll get rid of it. But this confidence is very important. So when you when you are prepared, okay, you will have the confidence, and that's very important, even because the court should also know actually that this guy is, yeah, he's come prepared. Fifthly, I always tell actually that, and this is a problem with many of us, questions. I don't think judges are interested in your narrative. Okay, I mean, fine, narrative for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, that's fine actually, but ultimately, the judge has questions because he's read your brief and he wants to help you. So, but he's asking you that, I'm stuck with this, I'm stuck with that actually. So when questions are put, you cannot ignore them. And this is a problem which I find with a lot of lawyers actually. Yeah, even I've gone through that actually. But so what I've learned is that you have to answer the question there and then. Sometimes the answer doesn't strike you, so you tell the court very courteously that, yes, my lord, yeah, that's a question I have to answer. Can I come to it? Okay, after I finish this. And lastly, I always tell all litigants, people laugh at me actually, but according to me, it's very important. Fitness, absolutely important. Some juniors ask me actually that seriously, and I'm like, I would rate fitness as in the top three. You've got to be absolutely fit. Okay, because it's not only a mental game, it's also a physical game. Okay, you're moving from one court to the other actually. So you have to have physical fitness and mental fitness.
Fitness is as equally important because a healthy mind would allow you to perform better.
Definitely.
Now, as a senior advocate, I'm sure a lot of interns apply to work under you and learn from you. However, at the same time, we interns lack exposure, we lack a lot of knowledge. So what do you look for in interns?
I'm very, very liberal with my interns. I'll tell you actually where I'm strict. Okay, but I'm very, very liberal with my interns, and I also empathize with them because when I started my career, we didn't have the concept of internship. Okay, so I fully understand that some interns find it difficult to understand because you've not done your 5 years of law. Okay, because actually we had 6 years, 3 years of undergraduate and then 3 years of LLB. Now you're straight away after 12th actually. So which according to me is very quite young, but now this is a trend. And I think, the 3-year course is becoming defunct. So it's like in desuetude. So yeah, but so therefore the point I'm making is that after 12th it's difficult. Because law is an interdisciplinary subject, right? It's like it involves history, politics, philosophy, science, everything. It's a mix of everything. So therefore, if you've not done 3-4 years, actually, sometimes you don't really get the hang of it actually, because you're doing, for example, torts and criminal crimes or or contract law in the first year, but then certain concepts of administrative law, constitutional law, all that probably they come much later. So that's why I fully understand when interns sometimes they're not able to grasp. But so my advice to them is actually that just as an intern, you try to observe as much as you can. Try to allow things to sink in. Yes, if you have questions, definitely you ask. Okay, but I think no need to be ashamed at all actually, because a lot of people even after 5 years and 10 years actually have questions actually which you are asking me in the first year. So it doesn't really, and all of us can't know everything, right? Even today, we try. It's a learning experience every day. So I would be very, very liberal. I would perfectly understand. Where I'm strict is timing. I'm a stickler for that actually. Sometimes I've interns, so my timing is like 10:50, and I usually make them come at 10:30 or whatever, 10:40, and they come at 11 o'clock, and then they tell me actually, text me and ask me actually where should I come in, and I don't answer. So I'll meet them in lunch, and then I'll, sir, but I've texted so many times, sir, sorry, I won't answer. I didn't answer only because you have to come at 10:30. Okay, so for me, I'm stickler, absolute stickler. I don't grant leave that easily. Okay, unless you are a very, very good reason. I don't entertain actually. Okay, fine, I understand actually if you have a genuine problem actually, but yeah, I woke up late and whatever, I have a hangover, whatever, that doesn't work. So that's where this is all what I would ask interns to do actually. Sum and substance, bottom line is that for interns, the best thing is to be in the situation, try to attend all meetings. That's the practice I have adopted actually, that all my interns will be there for all my meetings, all my client meetings, because according to me, that counseling, how you ask the client, what the client is going to share with you, what to ask, how to build your strategy, all that is very important according. So I make my interns sit actually. So observe all that. Okay. Don't be worried about actually, you know, learning. I must know this, I must know that from the first day. No, don't be bothered at all actually. Okay. But yeah, I mean, I think observe and take home actually what you learn.
So ultimately, you are a student and not an advocate who needs to know everything. You should go and observe, but at the same time, be extremely disciplined because ultimately it will build your character.
This is one thing I forgot actually. I tell my interns actually that be dressed properly. Okay, you should, because when you appear in court, okay, you've got to be neat. You've got to look handsome, right? I mean, that's, you have to make an impression actually. I'm not saying that, you know, it's about looks and, you know, I mean, being like a Bollywood star. It's not that actually. But when a judge is looking at you, it can't be an untidy band. It can't be, you know, buttons open, whatever it is actually. Everything should be proper. Okay, so that, you know, that part is over. It's a direct contact, eye to eye contact with the judge. So that's what I would get at.
Ultimately, again, you're not just representing your own self as an advocate, but you're representing a lot of people.
Absolutely.
The question that I'm about to ask is a personal one. You're a fourth generation advocate, and like you, I too am a generational advocate. Your grandfather was a renowned judge of the Gujarat High Court. Right. Your father, Mr. Shalin Mehta, also a decorated advocate. Now, that comes with a lot of privilege. But at the same time, at least for me personally, I have this self-imposed pressure on me to live up to their standards.
Right.
Now, from what I read, you are a competitive student. What was your story for this?
Yes, I agree, because my grandfather was a judge of the High Court for a long time actually, and I've never seen him actually. From what people say, he was very, very good, and he used to maintain the highest standards. Probably never ever took leave, even during his, I was told actually, even during his daughter's marriage actually, he left the court at 5 p.m. I think the ceremony started probably at 4 p.m. and he refused to go actually. That is what, I mean, those were the standards that he had maintained. My father obviously was a brilliant lawyer and an advocate both. So, I mean, when I came in the profession, there was pressure. I mean, there was pressure because, you know, obviously, you know, people will do this comparison, right? So they always have this question in mind that is he as good as his father, and will he be better, whatever. I mean, will he keep up the standard? So yeah, I mean, I think that pressure is always there. And initially when I joined the profession, you sometimes, yeah, you get bogged down by that pressure actually, because, you know, people are watching you, right? People are seeing you, people are observing you all the time. But I think, I mean, what I've learned is that you stay focused. I worked hard, and eventually, you know what, I mean, after some years, you know, you don't, I mean, all these comparisons, they pale into insignificance actually, because you are yourself, right? I mean, obviously there is the outside world to observe you, but I think that as a person, you must know that where you stand and whether, I mean, what you have done is good or not. And I think, I mean, that certainly matters. But yes, I agree that legacy helps a person. Legacy plays a very important role, but also legacy also brings a responsibility. And I think we all have to live up to that responsibility.
That is a very insightful answer, and ultimately, instead of competing about and thinking about what the world thinks, it is about how you perceive your own self and if you are able to live up to your own standards.
Absolutely.
What advice would you like to give to your younger self who is a junior advocate and who just entered the profession of litigation?
Number one, don't be in a hurry. Okay, and okay, mind you, I'm saying things though I may not have done that. Okay, because I was also in a hurry. I also initially, when I joined the profession, I worked with multiple lawyers actually, and ultimately I set at rest actually when I came to Mr. Girish Patel, my mentor, who, yeah, I mean, I think mentorship is also very important. I mean, very important in the profession, and I think you'll be very lucky if a person, if he gets a good mentor, he's very lucky, and that's what I got. And because I was in his office, I got matters to argue. So, one, don't be in a hurry. Two, if you get a good mentor, choose him. He need not be a person who is the richest lawyer in town, who is the most successful lawyer in town, because fine, they're all good actually, but they may not have the time. Find someone who is a good human being, okay, and who has some time for you and who can give you cases to argue and sit with you. That's also very important. Yes, Swayam, in today's world, it is rare. Even if you ask me, actually, I find I lament because I'm not able to spend that much time with my interns actually, and which is a fault on my part. Okay, and I try to do as much as I can, but that's very important. Third is hard work. I told you actually, hard work is extremely important. Hard work and focus, and obviously reading. The day you enter this profession, reading, there is no option but to read. Okay, and I would say forget your obviously case briefs and all that you're going to read actually, but even the little time that you get, fine, you can spend, you can do a lot of things actually, traveling and all that actually, but the little time that you get for try out different things actually, read politics, history, science, travel. I do that. I read indiscriminately. If you ask me, actually, I love fiction, I love non-fiction, I read everything. My current fancy is physics. Because I'm not a science student, and I did a couple of patent cases actually, and it's like learning inventions, right? Only a guy who's good in science and physics actually can. So I started reading a lot of elementary physics actually, and I think. Since I'm a complete non-believer actually, I think that science should be made compulsory, and science is one of the most important things. So reading whatever is of interest actually, read indiscriminately. Fourthly, some kind of discipline in life. You've got to enjoy. Okay, there is this thing actually, party hard and all that. Yeah, you will find these cliches, but fine. But Monday to Friday, my friends, you've got to have a disciplined life. Okay, and again, another thing which people will not tell you, actually, sleep. Okay, I try to work. You have to have that 7 or 8 hours of sleep, otherwise you can't function. So disciplined life again is very important. Fine, Saturday, Sundays you can do things that you like actually, but Monday, Friday you've got to after a good sleep you've got to work. So yeah, these are the things which I would tell youngsters. And obviously, I told you fitness. It comes with that. You live a disciplined life, actually fitness comes with that. But I think for me, frankly, running has helped a lot. I've been running for the last 20-25 years actually. And now I have stopped running actually, but I have a dog. We have a Doberman. So I have to walk him, and he's like 40 kilos. So and he sprints like crazy actually when he sees monkeys and other street dogs actually. But so that is, again, every day I have to wake up at 5:30 actually and take him for a walk. So that actually helps, frankly, if you ask me actually, because it's like waking up. It's a cycle. It's a cycle, a regimen. So have a regimen. For lawyers, we are in a profession where it's not like you will be in your chamber doing things. Fine, you will meet clients at your. If you are in court, it is their time, right? It is their 11 o'clock. It is their 2:40, 2:30 when second session will start. It is not your time. So if you're going to adjust to their timing, you've got to have this discipline and fitness.
It is important to strike a balance. It is important to have a timetable in a manner that
Absolutely.
one step leads to another, where you're benefiting your own self and your work at the same time balancing your own health.
Absolutely. Health is most important, I think.
With that, we come to the end of the video, and extremely grateful for you giving me this time. When I entered the office, your entire office was filled with a lot of clients. You were pacing around managing the clients. And
this is what happens on Saturdays actually, because I have most of my meetings on Saturdays actually. No, but this was, thank you for the opportunity. It was an honor for me to be at a podcast actually, without really knowing that what a podcast is, but now I know. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, man.